Hey everyone, have you ever had a situation where you knew the players were about to go somewhere or do something, you didn't have time to really prep it, or there's two or three things they could do, and who's got time to do a full prep of all that, like hours or whatever it is? Fortunately, in Savage Worlds, we can put an adventure together practically in minutes. It's a savage world, strangers a weird war. It's a savage world. If I said Carl with Tabletop Tango, look at the bubbles, do the stuff. We'd love your support. Check out the website. If you can throw us some cash, that's just going to get used to buy Savage World stuff so we can talk about it, because that's about all I care about for this channel. So also we've got a new podcast called Mastering the RPG. Check that out. That's some great content as well. So look at the bubbles, do the stuff. So what do I want to talk about today? So what I wanted to talk about is lots of times you just don't have time to do a lot of prep. Or in my situation, usually the players are in a situation where it feels like they may be doing one or two or maybe three different things potentially. And I obviously could ask them, it's like, hey, for next session, are you going to do this? But wouldn't it be cool to be more organic and let that play out and see where it goes? That's where low prep comes in. I did a video on, how Savage Worlds help with low prep, but I want to throw in something that talks about, let's make something in minutes to have a game. And so I'm going to use an example that I had in one of my games that kind of reminded me why to do this topic. But first thing we need to do is we need to come up with the concept. What are we trying to do? And it's just a couple of words, because we are creating an adventure quickly. We're not trying to do the great American novel with twists and turns and, backstab it. We're really just trying to do something that the players can play through quickly if they take that turn that we weren't expecting, or they're taking one of these multiple areas and you don't know which one yet. So in my example, my players were in Chicago in a cyberpunk kind of world, using the Interface 0 2.0 rules at the time. And they kept hinting about maybe wanting to leave the city, but they never really pulled the trigger on it. They were getting close to the wall for one of the other adventures they were doing, and I felt like maybe they might pull the trigger. And so I need to be ready for that, but I'm not going to do a big prep. I'm just going to throw something together. So I wanted a concept. And the first thing I thought to myself, well, obviously, somebody's going to ask them to take something from Chicago to somewhere else, maybe someplace in Indiana, maybe someplace in Michigan, because it's important. Maybe it's a volatile, maybe it's a smuggling. I just had to kind of think that through and say, yeah, they're smuggling something out of Chicago to Gary, Indiana. Maybe not Gary. How about Indianapolis? Smuggle it to Indianapolis. Had my concept. If they were going to go that direction, somebody would come up to them and say, hey, can you do something for me? Take this out of Chicago, and we'd have an adventure. Next thing is just bullet points. A few bullet points representing each of the stages of the adventure. I actually do this all the time, even when I'm doing full prep. I'm just bullet pointing out the kinds of things that are going to happen, and I don't get too much detail until I think I really need it, because lots of times you can ad-lib around just that one bullet item. So in this case, and these things could be, there's some role play, there's combat, there's something that I'm trying to sort of do in this scene. So for them, it was first, get out of town, a scene that lets them sort of having to work with the guards or figure out how to get past them to get out of the city. Second would be, what happens if the road breaks? They're going to be trying to take these old expressways in this post-apocalyptic kind of, futurist kind of world, cyberpunk, but a lot of the world's been sort of changed. Are those expressways still kept maintained? Not really, but here they are trying to go through these roads. I wanted to have a break. What happens if there's a break in the road? There's damage, and they got this truck with this volatile thing that they're smuggling out. What are they going to do? And then the last thing, of course, you want to have like a biker gang or somebody who's going to get in their way, try to steal what's theirs. And there you go. There's a couple of scenes ready to be fleshed out for the players to do. What happens now is you've got those scenes, and remember, one of the old tenets is, as a game master, you're in the problem department, not in the solution department. The last thing you want to do to keep your prep down is to start coming up with 5 different solutions, and if the players pick this solution, this is going to be the thing that happens. you got to kind of play with that on the fly, see where the players go, and then react to that. So, for example, and I'll just use my the break in the road. I'm creating the problem. Somewhere along the line, the expressway has collapsed on, maybe it was an overpass onto another road. It's collapsed. It's impassable now. That's the problem. How are the players going to solve it? Well, that's up to them. And that provides that opportunity for them to role play together, come up with ideas, and guess what? Now you've got an adventure that's taking time because they have to kind of think about what they're going to do. Could it be an easy solution? Well, if somebody comes up with something brilliant, yeah, it could be super easy. Maybe they decide, oh, what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it down. We're going to winch the truck down. Somebody's going to use their growth power to pick it up and move it, or whatever they're coming up with. That's up to them. What you need to do is realize that you didn't write out that part of the adventure and you didn't get into the details. So if they come up with a great idea, you need to let them run with it. Another thing that Savage Worlds bring to the table that's really great are things like dramatic tasks and that sort of thing. Because a dramatic task, for that situation, if you want to be able to push it forward, and let's say they come up with an interesting idea that's going to take multiple stages, there should be some consequences, you can now go into a dramatic task, and now you're putting the burden, burden's not the right word, but you're putting the onus on the players, because they're coming up with their narrative reason that something will work, or what skill they're going to use. You're just setting the stakes. Well, based on what they decide to do, this is going to be super difficult. It's going to be this, this number of tokens. We're going to need to have this level of, number of rounds to get there. Maybe it's because of the way they're approaching it, it's going to be a multi-stage. You're just setting the stakes. You're just saying, okay, based on what your cool plan is, here's what we're going to do. So that's a lot of fun. But then they're going to do it, right? They're taking, well, I'll do this, and my guy's going to, drop the rope down and keep the vehicle sort of steady as this other person's winching it across. I mean, whatever, right? They're going to come up with some interesting ideas, and you're going to apply the skills. So Savage Worlds came to your rescue with the awesome dramatic task that we all love. So that's cool, right? So then the next thing I had was the biker gang. Biker gang, setting the stage. There's bikers, right? And you can define the size of that without really worrying about it. I mean, you get the feel, you got a couple of you got 4 players, they're all wild cards. Yeah, you're going to have a wild card, and he's going to have some minions. Okay, but man, the one big thing about doing adventures quickly is not to get too worried about balance. It's hard in Savage Worlds anyway with exploding dice. So I never worry about it. I throw as much as I think is needed. I just throw it out there. It's like, there's a wild card. He's he's kind of the gang leader, but he may just be a lieutenant, and they don't know that. And so if it really turns out to be not that difficult and they gang up on him, and again, you as the game master, he can do everything a player can. So you should be using cover. You should be using support. You should be using tests with this guy because you can do it. Don't have him stand out just waiting for everybody to pound on him. He's smart, right? As a wild card, he's letting the minions do the work. You're layering the combat. I had a video on how to make good combat encounters in Savage Worlds. You should be able to search and just look up encounter and find that video within my list of videos. And that'll give you a feel for, you can layer things, you can do all sorts of stuff to make challenging encounters because of the way Savage Worlds work. But you keep that in your mind. Cool thing, again, about Savage Worlds is there's a set of chase mechanics. So let's say, again, you're setting the stakes. The players decide they're going to talk to this person. Okay, now we're going to pull out the good old-fashioned social conflict. Can I get these people maybe more on my side than against me? That's awesome. The players are coming with solutions. Or the players may just try to get around them, sneak around them, do something else. Maybe they're taking the volatile thing out. It's up to you. Maybe it was just a package in this big truck. Maybe it's not the truck itself, and they're saying, okay, well, I'm going to disconnect the truck, I'm going to run it this way, and then I'm going to try to steal a motorcycle. Whatever. They're going to come up with cool ideas. But you've got chase. So now, again, you can set up this, they're trying to get away from these bikers. You can use a chase to say whether that last part gets them to where they want to do after the combat. Let's say they're fighting, and their whole point of fighting is so that they can get themselves kind of away from this group. Oh, another group is coming. What are you going to do? Okay, time for the chase. Again, a mechanical thing that makes the adventure kind of fun. You didn't have to write a bunch of stuff. It's right there. You just have to set the stakes. The big guy, and there's going to be maybe 10 other bikers who get on their bike. They're chasing them down based on how good the players did with their negotiations or sneaking around or whatever it is. Now you can say, oh, they're 2 cards away, and just run it. I mean, a chase takes a certain amount of time. The players get to be creative again. You know, somebody's driving, but somebody's coming up with, okay, if I do this or I do that, I can support the driver in his maneuvering. I can do all sorts of stuff. So they, you know, can provide that action. What you did is just set the stakes again. So in my 3 ideas that I had to say, here's this adventure. You can basically, I invented it right now as we're talking, and we've been talking for, you know, 10 minutes or so, right? I've got my 3 ideas. I've got sort of how they lay out. I've set the stakes. I just said, here's the problem. You solve it, players. And I started leveraging the rules to make it an interesting adventure without maybe me having to create all the little fine details. So, you know, the break in the road, they come up with an idea, maybe it becomes a dramatic task, and we leverage their own narrative to get through things. If we get into the biker gang, you know, it's just an encounter. Maybe they're going to go do the battle. They're going to attack. But if they say they're going to do something else, maybe talk to them, try to, well, now you're using social conflicts. And the rules help you with that. The mechanics make that kind of fun and interesting. If they try to sneak away, well, maybe there's a chase now. And there's this big dramatic last get the ditch. You know, the gates over in Indianapolis are open, waiting for them. They're driving as fast as they can while these bikers are trying to catch up with them, and it can be a lot of fun. So it's easy. You know, it's not just let your imagination leverage things you've already seen. I mean, this is a Mad Max, stole it right from Mad Max, right? For the most part, there's things you've seen, there's ideas you have. Use where the players are kind of walking or what they're doing, and if you know, you're an hour into your play session and they decide to go left, you can say, hey, we're not doing that. Or you can say, hey, just give me a couple minutes. And you drive the concept, a couple of bullet items, use the rules to kind of layer into that. You know, it's very easy to make any kind of adventure that ultimately leads to a dramatic task that they can sort of succeed in a big way right at the end, or, you know, even a chase or a social conflict, or you can string a bunch of stuff together and then use quick encounters to kind of pull them all together into one big finale, and you just bullet it out and you set the stakes, you let the players do the work, and it's going to be fun. In my case, unfortunately, they never took the bait. They never decided to leave Chicago. But the beauty of it is it took me 10 minutes to come up with that, 15 minutes to come up with that adventure, pull it all together, understand what's going to be there, have, you know, again, I don't need stat blocks because it's Savage Worlds. Everybody gets a D6. And it was simple. And so I don't feel like I lost something because I did a big chunk of prep. I learned something, I got my creative juices flowing, and then the next time something comes along, I feel confident that I can do something. So anyway, that is quick prep with Savage Worlds, leveraging the rules, makes kind of something on the fly quickly. I thought that was kind of fun, just thinking about it. So anyway, it's Carl with Tabletop Tango. Look at the bubbles, do the stuff, check out Mastering the RPG, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.
It's a savage world, strange as a wind war. It's a savage world, classics to